parents really grossly underestimate how valuable their attention is, even when it's negative. I know plenty of parents that continue to use punishment and yell and send their kids away. And sometimes the behavior just keeps happening or it just stops it in the moment, but it comes back every day. So
Yeah.
it's not a long-term solution. Our attention, even like I said, positive attention, our kids will take it whatever way, shape, or form they can get it. And so even if the attention is negative and we are frustrated and we are yelling, any attention is better than no attention. And so our kids are just going to do whatever gets the most of it.
And gets that reaction out of us.
Yes. Yep.
Yes, but they learn how to push our buttons.
Yep.
You are listening to Dedicated Joe, the new dad's guide on the upending and transformational experience of becoming a father. Hey y'all, really excited to have Jenna Mazzillo on the show today. She is a board certified behavior analyst and the host of ABA Natural. She's also a teacher and has her own parenting course. She is an expert on the science of human motivation, which is a documented science, and she's focused a lot on how we motivate our children to do the things we want, to have healthy emotional development. And she's also a mom herself, ages 3 and 7. And so she's got a wealth of knowledge here on how to deal with our kids' challenging behaviors. Check it out. Hello, Jenna Mazzillo. Great to have you. Discovered you when you discovered me, I guess, and you shared one of the posts I did of Della when she was really little. And I've got a lot of attention, that post, a lot of people critiquing it, a lot of people liking it. And your take was really unique. And so really wanted to have you on the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Tell me a little about you, about your channel and kind of what you focus on.
Sure. So I'm a board certified behavior analyst. I'm a teacher and mom of 2 girls. Actually, I stopped teaching 2 months ago. I completely forgot. I keep forgetting. I was a teacher of 15 years and now I'm doing content creation full time. But I
Still
have
teaching, just teaching us now.
teaching
Yeah.
the world. But I have the account ABA Naturally. And on the account, I create content to help parents implement practical, proven strategies in their home so they can help their kids listen the first time while maintaining that connection with them and feeling confident to balance warmth and structure, which is something that I don't think we hear go hand in hand anymore these days. So that's what my content is about.
Yeah, that's great. And what does the ABA stand for?
Applied behavior analysis.
Oh, which is that the same as is for autistic kids? Does that?
Not necessarily. A lot of people do think that behavior analysis is simply for kids with autism, but it's not. It's for everybody. It's how we operate in our day as well. Behavior analysis. If you've ever, there's a forensics department about it. If you've ever seen the show Mindhunters, it's how they conduct a lot of sports training when they have athletes in the stadium and have fans booing. Organizational behavior management. It's an entire field.
So it's
Yeah.
like the psychology of helping people change their behavior, encouraging them to go with the.
It's the science of human behavior. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sounds very useful for kids. Well, let's start with the post. Let's watch it here. Here's my wife eating dinner when Della was about, I think she's probably 2 here.
I'm not going to pick you up right now to see there's still food on my plate. When all the food is gone, I'll pick you up, but I'll hug you. You want to give me a side hug?
No.
Okay.
I don't want to give you a side hug.
So for those listening, she's now crying on the floor next to my wife as she eats dinner. So yeah, you did a little analysis on your channel, but you want to just kind of say again what your thoughts were on that?
Yeah, that was such a beautiful moment. And I think for so many different reasons, like I said in the video, that people tend to skew towards 2 ways. One is that we validate every emotion and we talk through everything. And the other one is simply punishment, timeout. People posted pictures with the belt on it, and so your wife did such a beautiful job of finding that in between of not, again, she was utilizing the principles of behavior. She didn't probably even realize it, but she gave her a proactive strategy. You can sit on my lap or, I can have a side hug. Or, but I'm not holding you right now. And the beautiful thing she did was she wasn't mean about it. She didn't have to yell. She was still kind, but she was calm and she held the boundary. She didn't continue to talk about it, which would be very reinforcing for a
Mm,
child in that moment, because that's
mm.
exactly what they want. Attention is very valuable to them. It was beautiful.
Yeah, like, she didn't keep saying, "I hear you're sad, it's okay to be
Yep.
sad, but I'm not gonna hold you right now."
Yes. Yep.
So, "I hear you're sad," just, like, over and over
Yep.
again is probably what I do. Um, but she also didn't, like, just let her on her lap, which is something I also might have done. Might have just,
Right.
like,
Right.
"Yeah, I'll figure out how to eat dinner with her
Sure.
on my lap."
Yeah.
But
Yep.
my
Yep.
wife's always been very good with boundaries in
Mhm.
general, she's better at boundaries than me. I shouldn't say she's always been good. She's done a long boundary practice of learning to be better at them,
Sure.
and
Sure.
she's ahead of me.
Yeah.
So so she's better at me and my family than
Sure.
boundaries. But this was, yeah, a very, difficult skill for her to learn. I think her
Yeah.
parents both of our parents skewed towards the punishment, go
Sure.
away.
Sure.
I specifically remember being sent away from dinner for having feelings, like,
Yeah.
"Come
Yeah.
back when you're happy," is what
Yeah.
"You can come back when you're happy."
Sure.
And I would go and have feelings, I'd come back and say, "I'm happy now," and come back
Yeah.
and sort of remember at age, 4 or 5, learning to repress my feelings and
Oh,
so that
yeah.
I could be welcome at dinner.
Well,
Um,
one
yeah.
thing I will say about that is, like, for parents who are worried that they are suppressing their child's feelings, um, if there's or if they don't talk to them about it, or, like, if they don't unpack it with them in that moment, is that so much of what we do with our kids can be done proactively when they're not engaging in challenging behavior. There are so many things that we can do to build our relationship with them, from noticing ordinary things we tend to overlook that we think our kids should do just because, to talking to them about their favorite topics, without lecturing them, but just engaging with them, spending time with them, 10 minutes of focused attention. And that when we do have to hold the boundary, we don't really feel like we're the bad guy right now, because so many of our interactions are so positive with them, and that this is just one moment in time. And the other thing that happens too, when we only wait for those challenging moments to give our kids our connection, is that they learn, this is what brings me closer to my mom. We want them to also see that all this other stuff brings them closer to us. And I like to look at this like a bank account. If you went to the ATM and you had no money in it and you went to withdraw money, it wouldn't work. Nothing would come out.
Mhm.
But when you have money in the ATM, so when you're depositing those positive interactions that I just spoke about, when you have to withdraw something to hold a boundary, correct, instruct, which will happen, it's not a big deal.
Mm. So if there's a lot of behavior challenges and they're not listening or it's been difficult, you might not just look at that scenario, but look at the bigger picture and say, did I remember we did like the 10 minutes in heaven or whatever was one of the strategies for toddler tantrum was like, if you spend 10 minutes of dedicated attention a
Hmm.
day,
Yep.
just 10 minutes, it's not very long,
Yes.
on a kid, they will like have less
Yes.
breakdowns,
Yes.
and that is the way they're trying to get attention. So if you sort of fill them up, as you're saying,
Yeah.
it'll
Yeah.
happen less. At the very least, you're more connected when you do have it. Like they know that they're not
Yes.
only going to get attention when they cry.
Yes, and kids are hardwired for our attention as adults. They crave it. And so if we're not giving it to them positively, then they're certainly going to seek it out in other ways.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so that's when you talk about the skewing. So if you skew too far and they give them tons of attention just because they're upset, that can reinforce that idea that they get more attention. Which is maybe what I do because it's any version of being uncomfortable with their feelings, I suppose. So
Totally.
because
Mhm.
my discomfort, I lean in and like want to like hold her and be with her the whole time. My wife
Yeah.
tended to be more of the like I want to leave and go. If
Yeah.
she didn't know better, might send her away.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
on my side, that's what I risk is essentially encouraging her to have more fits or tantrums because I'm doting on her so much.
I mean, a lot of people say, how do you decide when you validate an emotion? And I'll say, I don't everyday ordinary, like, challenging misbehaviors that are just part of the routine, I'm not gonna stop and validate. But if there's a moment that's truly novel for my child, or unexpected, or they really didn't have never been in this situation before, that is a moment that I might, um, spend a little bit more time with them on, but I don't continue to validate them after I have, because I find that kind of keeps kids stuck in that loop of, like,
Hmm.
they can't they either think that the outcome is going to change, whether that's because we're validating it or because it brings us closer to them. And that is something kids do like. And so I absolutely will, in those moments, validate it, but then I don't stay in it really with them. I try to
Yeah.
help them move on.
I think one line for me is, am I interrupting what else I'd rather be doing? So it takes no time at all to say like, hey, I hear you're frustrated about that. It's okay to be frustrated, and then go
Yeah.
about my day, versus like feeling like truly interrupted, or if I start to get resentful, like, oh my God, is she ever going to stop? Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to do something else. So it's like, as soon as sort of like, if I'm kind of done, if I'm not really
Yeah.
enjoying essentially
Sure.
being with her, because sometimes I really enjoy being with her and she's upset,
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
like, especially
Absolutely.
physical pain, like if she gets hurt, holding
100%.
holding her for physical pain, I like really enjoy that. I'm like, not
Yes.
that I want her to get hurt, but like that is a very sweet,
Of
snuggly.
course.
When
Yes.
she's mad at me, it's not so much fun.
Sure.
But hold the like not giving in the boundary, and I guess part of that boundary is, for in my wife's case, like not stop eating dinner, like not even
Yeah.
like let it interrupt my
Yeah.
where I
Yes.
was for
Yeah.
very long enough to say, I hear you have feelings, and I'm you can have a side hug if that's what you want, but that's where it goes, and you can cry
Yeah.
about it if you want to.
Because one more thing on that too, our attention, even like I said, positive attention, our kids will take it whatever way, shape, or form they can get it. And so even if the attention is negative and we are frustrated and we are yelling, any attention is better than no attention. And so our kids are just going to do whatever gets the most of it.
Hmm. Yeah, and gets that reaction out of us.
Yes. Yep.
Yes, but they learn how to push our buttons.
Yep.
I have a
Exactly.
whole episode on why our kids are driving us crazy. If your
Yeah.
kids are driving you crazy, listen to this. And one of those is because they know how to get a reaction out of you. And
Yeah.
if you stop reacting,
Yep.
they stop doing it.
Totally.
It's like pretty awesome.
Yeah.
You have to, they're tricky. Like they can sort of tell if you're faking it. You have to like really not care.
Yeah.
You can't just like
Yeah.
pretend to not care. You have to
Exactly.
really
Yeah.
like, for me, required actual emotional healing. Like I had to like
Yeah.
heal the
Sure.
the childhood wound or whatever that she was triggering in me, in order to like
Yeah.
truly have no reaction. But
Yes.
I think it at least starts by controlling our behavior, like what we actually do, even if for like hits us
Yes.
inside. If we don't like actually change the course, that's one step.
Definitely. A big one. Yes.
Yeah. Any other risks with over validating? Anything else we want to say before we go to swing the other way?
Um, I mean, there's so many places that I could go with this, but what I will say also is that when I am thinking about these things, I try to remember in those moments that I'm not doing this for me. I'm not doing this so my life gets better. I'm doing this for my child. And that's also, I've worked with kids for 15 years that have had from a variety of ages, from neurotypical kids to children with disabilities. And what I can tell you is the kids who had every emotion validated and whose parents didn't held boundaries were not struggling any less.
Hmm.
And a lot of times too, I would argue that it's the smaller things for them that can tend to derail their day because we never taught them how to sort of persist through that. And one day they are going to go to elementary school and their teacher isn't going to be able to stop the class and work with them. And I would rather work with my kids in my home on teaching certain things than have them do it in front of a class of 20 kids.
Hmm. Yeah. And I tend to find that things that are better for her are also better for me. Like if she learns emotional regulation better, then that's less
Yes,
stressful on me.
for sure.
So is there an example of though where like a parent might be thinking, I do this for me, but it's bad for the kid, and that they need to remember that their kid needs this more?
Yeah, I would say in the moment, again, I'm going to go back because we spoke about the principles of behavior and why we do what we do. So a lot of times we do certain things because we've been reinforced for it. So when we overvalidate or when we yell, it makes the crying stop. It makes the behavior stop. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's normal. We think this works, so we continue to do it. And so we're like, this is good. This is a great strategy. But if challenging behavior continues to happen day after day, it's important to remember that there's something that it's getting that it still likes, and that's why it's continuing to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like when we talk about punishment versus reward, they say, well, punishment works. If you threaten them, they'll do it. Like, well, it might work in the moment to get them to do the
Exactly.
thing, but if
Yes.
they don't learn intrinsically why to do the thing, they're just going to do it when you're not looking.
Right.
And now you have to punish more and more, and you have to reward more
Yep.
and more. And like, it gets out of hand. So I see what you're saying, like long-term versus short-term. If you think about the long-term growth of their
Yes.
values and intrinsic motivation, it's better for them, but also I say it really is in the long run better for the parent.
Yeah. Yeah. And punishment just stops a behavior. It doesn't teach anything.
Mhm.
Reinforcement. So, and I don't mean reinforcement with what people mean by like rewards and candy and whatnot. I just mean anything that increases a behavior actually teaches our kids a skill. And so, again, if we're just like you just said, if we're only focusing on stopping the behavior, we're always going to have to up the ante till eventually
Yeah.
it doesn't work and they don't care anymore.
Mhm. I would say it does teach something. It teaches fear. It
Sure.
teaches
Yes.
avoidance. It teaches,
Yes.
an authority, subordinate relationship that
Yeah.
is not what you want them to, because
No.
then they won't come to you if they need genuine help, or they won't trust you,
Absolutely.
or they won't listen to you in other times, so it kind of teaches the wrong thing
Yep. Yeah.
ultimately.
And for kids only to behave a certain way in front of their parents and perhaps not around other people.
Yeah. I think it's a good segue into the other extreme, which is kind of what our parents' generation kind of did a lot of, which was send away, punish, threaten.
Yeah.
And I was so surprised how many people on the post said we should be sending her away. I expected people to be like, think she was cold, maybe like, why wouldn't she take her on her
Yeah.
lap? Poor girl. Can't you just eat your dinner with her on her lap? Which is probably kind of what I was thinking. And there were some of those people that were like, oh, she just needs to be snuggled
Sure.
for a second. But most
Yes.
people, there wasn't that many of those. Most people were like, good job, mom, you're great.
Yeah.
And the few of those, but if there was detractors, it was in the other way. It was like, she's ruining your dinner. You should send her away. You should
Yeah.
punish her. You should get her out of there. She shouldn't be allowed. She's going to grow up thinking she can just throw fits all the time. All
Yeah.
this stuff I was like really surprised by. So this is this other extreme. So tell us about the risks of that approach, like send them away, yell at.
Well, like we said before, one, it creates fear. And your kids aren't going, we want our kids running towards us, not away from us. And right now, when they're young, we're lucky that they do live in our house and we do have this ability to be with them. But as they get older, there are going to be outside influences and it's not going to be us, it's going to be other kids and whatever that is. And so, if we're constantly shutting them down or sending them away, then the time in their life when we really do want them to come to us, they are certainly not going to be. And the other thing, like we said before, I'm going to keep saying this because it's so important, but parents really grossly underestimate how valuable their attention is, even when it's negative. I know plenty of parents that continue to use punishment and yell and send their kids away. And sometimes the behavior just keeps happening or it just stops it in the moment, but it comes back every day. So
Yeah.
it's not a long term
So it
solution. It
won't
just
even
feels
change the
good.
behavior. Yeah. Yeah. And then I think for me and my wife both have done a long journey of learning to understand our feelings and have
Yeah.
feelings, and
Yeah.
how much that's interfered with our intimacy or relationships,
Yeah.
we're to not, we're triggered by our partners all the time, not to be able to
Yeah.
process that or express that
Yes.
makes it really hard to relate. And it seems to me like the issues like addiction and depression and
Yeah.
come from repression, come from like
Right. Right.
especially addiction, because like my feelings are wrong, I'm going to be in trouble. I better
Yeah.
find some way to control those,
Yeah.
like my mom did, basically,
Yeah.
and using drugs and alcohol as a way to
Yeah.
control feelings is really risky. And especially, I think this generation of teenagers seems to be so much less substance use.
Yeah.
And I
Yes.
really think that's because we've changed the way we approach feelings.
Yeah.
And people say
Yes.
they're coddled and blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, okay, maybe, but like they're not doing drugs in middle
Yeah.
school. Like,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yes.
So have you found that too, that if you kids emotional repression can have really long-term impacts?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. And definitely, like you said, on the parent too. I try to, I mean, and when it comes to those moments that we do want to get upset and we are having these big feelings, what I try to remember in that moment is that this one moment that my child's having a hard time does not define who they are and all the thousands of other moments that we had today that were good. But we just tend to zoom in. And I think as adults, we do this too with everything. Even, you have a social media account, like on the one comment somebody makes, when you could get 1,000 positive ones. And so, the same is true for our kids. When they are having that one moment that's so hard, we're like, am I raising a child who doesn't listen? Are they bad? When we forget all of the other wonderful moments. And so don't discount those is what I'll say when you are struggling. And
Yeah,
it's
trying to
normal.
avoid problematizing, like looking for the negative. What am I doing wrong? What is,
Yeah.
there's a lot of fear in being a parent and a lot of self-doubt and a lot of other people's judgment.
Yeah.
And so that can lead to this constant am I doing it right all day long?
Right. Yeah.
And so
Absolutely.
I sort of like to tell dads, like, if you're worried you're not doing it right, it means you're a good dad. That's
Yeah,
sort
you're
of
you're 10 steps ahead of most people.
that's just the nature of being a parent, to worry you're not doing
Yeah.
it right. Like, if you were
Yeah.
positive you're doing everything perfectly, I'd be very concerned about
Yes. Yeah,
about
I
that.
remember when I was pregnant with my first daughter and I was terrified of like what am I doing? What did I decide to do? And I was talking to my brother who's been a parent for longer than I was, and he's a doctor, so he sees a lot of kids, and he said the fact that you're even asking this question and that you care puts you ahead of many people. Like that's the first step in wanting to change and self-reflect and do the best that we can.
Yeah. We were big friends of Big Little Feelings. Are you
Mhm.
familiar with this platform? They teach kind of a 5-step process. Do you like them? You think they overcoddle? Like, what's your opinion of Big Little Feelings?
I don't follow them.
Okay.
I don't know too much about what they do. I will say that.
Yeah, it's great stuff. They have like these kind of 5 to 8 minute videos. It's like a course of like 100 different videos, and you can go through it in order, or you can search around, but they're really like short and digestible, which is really nice. Their
Mhm.
5-step process is basically like name the feeling. Seems like you're feeling angry. Tell them it's okay. It's okay to be angry. You can also name the reason, like, I hear you're angry because you want more ice cream. It's
Sure.
okay to be angry. It makes sense. It's hard not getting things we want. Reaffirm the boundary. If there's a boundary, you're not going to get more ice cream. You could have, and they say if they can have it, if there's some way they could have it later, or if they could have something else, like you could have a piece of fruit right now, or
Yeah.
you could have more ice cream after dinner.
Yeah.
But I hear that you're angry. It's okay to be angry, and basically kind
Yeah.
of do that over and over until they sort of are like at a bit of a beat. Like,
Mm.
it's not necessarily till they're fully done, but there's sort of like, there's a
Yeah.
sort of a saturation of attention, and then they either sort of shift or you shift. And
Yeah.
and I found if I was going to distract, like play it, make her laugh or do something to move on, that's sort of do that after I've kind of done that cycle. But what
Sure.
do you think of that kind of rhythm for your 2-year-old?
I mean, all children are different, I will say that. Um, I don't think there's a right answer or a wrong answer, but well, number 1, I do try to do things proactively. So, for example, if I am gonna offer an alternative, I do that when I also deny the thing. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to wait for my child to get to the point
Sure.
of challenging behavior because then that can also teach them when I cry and get upset, I'm offered more wonderful things. So, if I have to say no, it would be, "You can't have this, but you can have that." Or,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm transitioning my child and I know we're going from somewhere fun to somewhere not as fun, I'll try to think about like what is happening in our near environment that I can talk about now beforehand. So when they are laying on the floor crying, I'm not whipping out all whip, oh, we're gonna go home now and have all these things, which might teach something. So I might say, like, instead of saying it's time to leave the park, I might say, it's time to leave the park. We're gonna go home and have pizza and the yummy cookies we picked up,
Yeah,
something proactively.
that
Um,
makes sense.
and the other thing is, this I guess suppose goes back to behavior analysis, is I try to look at what we do is we look at why the behavior is happening, and not so much what it looks like. Like, what's the purpose behind it? Because kids are ultimately all humans are trying to get something or get away from something. And so when we can look at the function and the why, then we can teach our kids a more appropriate replacement behavior instead. So something better that they can do that's easier for them, that will communicate their needs more effectively so it doesn't have to get to the point where they are struggling. And
Mm-hmm.
so I like to look at challenging behavior as a missing skill. What skill does my child need to be taught?
Mm-hmm. And talk about behavior modification in humans, for us as parents, uh, for me, for someone who errs more towards I want to over validate and give her lots of attention for her feelings, how do I motivate myself to do a little less, to let her figure it out on her own?
Would say number one, like we spoke about before, when you are doing so much proactively, I don't think you have to, which it sounds like you do. I don't think you have to worry about feeling like you're abandoning your child or anything because you have so many of those good moments together. Number two, you did acknowledge it, but you don't have, you did acknowledge it. You are going to do it once, but sometimes, like what's helpful for me, let's say, if I'm upset about something, having somebody, let's say, continue to say, like, I understand you're upset. I understand you're upset. I want someone to validate me. I want someone to sympathize with me for sure. But then also, I would want to know myself, like, is there another option? Is there something better I can do? Like, what will make me get out, like, not stuck in this loop? And I try to look at it as, again, this isn't, I'm helping my child in the moment. Maybe I can stop the feeling in the moment, but long term, this isn't going to be a way for them to learn that,
Hmm.
uh, that we continue to talk about everything that is wrong, that you can't have the blue cup, that you can't have the ice cream, which are, the little parts of the day. But like, for example, yesterday, my 7-year-old was telling me that there was a girl in her class that told her that she wasn't invited to her birth. She said, "Do you want to come to my birthday party?" And my 7-year-old said, "Yeah." 6-year-old, she's going to be 7. I'm calling her 7. She said, "Yes." And then the girl said, "Well, you can't come." And I was just like, oh my gosh, like, and that was something that I 100% stopped to validate. Like, I'm so sorry that that happened to you. Like, that's horrible. And that is a moment that I would do that. Or when my toddler, when I first took her out to the carnival and she had just turned 2 and she didn't understand that she could not continue to ride the carousel. And she was just devastated. But she didn't understand you have to wait back in line, number one. You have to buy tickets again. And we were
Yeah.
going out for lunch. And so, yes, in that moment, I'm going to be saying, like, I'm really sorry, Grace. I'm so sorry you're disappointed. But I find that when you continue to talk to a child about that over and over again, it tends to keep them stuck in that for longer. And in the beginning, if you do try to do it differently, just know that it might get worse before it gets better. A lot of parents might think, oh, it's not working. I need to continue talking to them about it. But it's going to be because you're doing something different now. And the typical
Hmm.
response your child gets, they're not getting it anymore. And so they might try to do new things to see if that will elicit that from you again.
Yeah.
So,
I'm definitely not trying to stop the feeling. I
yes.
think my logical what leads me to overindulge in that is feeling guilty. Like I feel guilty that she's upset and I don't want her to be all alone, and like I
Yeah.
want her to know that I care about her, and if I was really upset I would want somebody to put attention
Yeah.
on me. And so like I think that's where, so I think what you're saying is I can remember, there's no doubt I spent a lot of time caring about her, like
Yeah.
I don't need to
Absolutely.
feel guilty that in this moment, for whatever reason. And I think also if it's not genuine, if I'm not truly fully with her, if I'm like there out of obligation, annoyed, like, okay, are you done yet? I hear
Yeah.
you're sad. Are
Yeah.
you done yet? That she's not gonna like that anyway. So like it's kind of like be all in and be there with her. But if I can't be, like, if that's sort of like maybe a good place to know where my line is.
Yeah.
Uh
I
yeah.
think too, like when you consistently come, like when you operate from a place of kindness, above all else, like you're kind to your child, and I know this might sound cliche, but you treat them the way that you want to be treated. You don't have to be cold. I'm not saying to be cold, and I'm also not saying to be dismissive, but what I'm saying is, because I don't want this to get misconstrued by anybody that's listening, is that you can hold a boundary and you can help your child, you can validate it, but then you can move on. And it doesn't have to be that you're mad about it or you're simply being cold on purpose. Sometimes what I will say to help people understand this is we can ignore the behavior, but not the child. So I'm not going to not respond to my child in that moment, but I'm also not going to sit there and necessarily talk to her about the tantrum that she's in the middle of having.
Yeah. She's doing this thing right now where she gets her feelings hurt. She's very sensitive in general, and she'll get her feelings hurt playing while we're playing a game. She's very sensitive to being laughed at, so she'll do these cute things or say these really cute things and we laugh because it's so
Yeah.
cute. And then she's feel like she's being laughed at.
Yeah.
And she runs away. She goes up to her room. She'll leave the
Yeah.
table. She'll leave the room. She'll run up to her bed and like
Yeah.
be upset there. And it's like, it's not even really crying. Like she's just
Right.
like
Right.
hiding, like embarrassed, upset.
Sure.
I don't really know what to do. Am I supposed to follow her? Do I follow her every time? Do I sometimes follow her? She seems to want me to follow her. Like when I do follow her, she likes that. And then she
Yeah.
tells me what happened in bed and I
Yeah.
tell her I'm sorry. And then I carry her on my back to the dinner table. Like she likes that. But
Yeah.
like there's those times
Sure.
I'm just like, we're in the middle of something else and she runs away and I'm just like, I'm just not
Yeah.
gonna go. Like I'm
Yeah.
just like like if
Sure.
you were
Yeah. Yeah.
upset, you want to come and talk to me, I'll talk to you. But if you're gonna leave
Right.
and go have feelings, have at
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But like if you're not even gonna sometimes she just disappears and I don't even know where she went. And I
Right.
find out 10, 15 minutes later that she's been in her bed this whole time, sort of waiting for us to notice
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
she got her feelings hurt.
Yeah.
And so, and I like, am I abandoning her by like not noticing? Or can I teach her, like, if you get your feelings, you got to tell me. And like, you can't expect me to follow you every time. Like, if you want attention, you need to come and ask for it.
Yeah, you just hit the nail on the head. So when that happens, and the key is doing this in the moment when it happens, because once they've already gone away and now we're talking about it, they sort of get the outcome they were hoping for, and this won't be valuable. But teach them to say in that moment, number one, you could teach them to say, please don't laugh at me. Like if let's say you're like
Mm-hmm.
making a joke and she's you could see she's about to go off, you could say, what's your daughter's name? Delia?
Della.
Della,
Yeah.
sorry, Della, you could just say, "Please don't laugh at me." And then, like, tell her exactly what to say, though, because we wanna make it so easy for her to engage in that behavior. But with that being said, if it does sound like the function of it, why she's doing it, like you said, might be to get your attention. So if that were the case, because you said, like, that it appears that she likes it, then I might even teach her to say, like, "Can we talk about this?" Like, what's a more
Mm-hmm.
appropriate, effective way to speak to somebody as opposed to running off?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe
And
before go ahead.
she's really good at talking about stuff outside of the moment and like making a
Yeah.
plan.
Yeah.
So, like, I think that's really good too to, like, I could, when she's not in the middle of
Yeah.
one of these fits, I can
Yep.
talk to her. How I
Totally.
noticed this pattern and, like, why do you think you do that? And what are you wanting in that moment? Are
Yeah.
there some other skills you'd like to learn? How do you feel when I follow you? How do you feel when I don't follow you?
Yeah.
And express that I'm not always going to even know to follow you, let alone be
Right.
able to follow you
Right.
or even want to.
Yes.
And like, is there anything does she have desire to learn how to stay, how to say, hey,
Yeah.
please don't laugh at me. And we can say, oh, sorry, and stop. And then it's
Yeah.
over rather than have this whole production about.
Well, if the motivation was truly that she wanted you to stop laughing, then she likely would echo that. But if the desire is the other thing, then she might not. And so what I will say is when you do teach this to your child outside of the moment, which is absolutely you should, also try to think about it in terms of how is this going to benefit them so that you can get the buy-in. Like I mean, I'm going to give you the term for this in behavior analysis. It's called the teaching interaction procedure, and there are different steps to it. But one of the big steps
Okay.
is called buy-in. And so, like, why is this better for you? So, like, when when we're having a good, and it's going to be different for every child, but when we're having a good time, um, when you tell me in the moment, like, don't laugh at me, or you tell me, can we talk about this? Then we get to keep playing games. We get to keep having fun. We get like, I don't know what the payoff is for her. And so trying to look at that. And the other key piece that many people forget and will leave out is actually practicing it. And so, like
Mm,
doing that. So not her getting upset, but you getting upset. So like, Delia, let's say I'm really upset like, you just said something like, oh, and then telling her exactly what to say, having her do it. And you can even, I have videos about this, but you can even make it fun for her by having her tell you, like, was that cool or not cool? Like you could have like good responses and not good responses. There's more that goes into this than I can articulate right now, but that's definitely one of the things you can do. And what you're doing is so important too, because I just made a post about this, how I was on an airplane and I don't know if you saw that, and they came around to do the life jacket procedure, and all they did was tell us what to do. And so in that, I was thinking to myself, like, oh my gosh, if the plane goes down, because a couple things happened with turbulence, but I'm truly not going to know because there are so many tubes on it. There's so many strings, and I've never actually done it. And in that moment, when I'm also probably like at my worst and chaotic, I'm not going to be thinking about what was it they said to do again? Like but however, if that's a skill that I've practiced and can become more fluent in, then when that comes, I am gonna know, okay, I take the life jacket out. I remember I practiced doing this with blowing it up. And so there's definitely I mean research and evidence to support that this is one of the more effective ways you can do that.
Yeah, learning by doing for sure. And so in this practice scenario, she would be herself and she would practice sort of like getting triggered and then saying, don't laugh at me, or coming say, hey, actually, Daddy, you hurt my feelings. I'd like to talk to you about it, something like that. Or would I be her and model
So yeah, so
her behavior to her?
So one of the first things you could do is that you would do is after you provide the instruction and explain like why this will benefit her, is you model it. You model it yourself. You could play both parts. We don't want
Okay,
our
I
child.
see.
We
Yeah.
don't want. We don't. And then, but when you do go to practice it, we don't want your child to practice engaging in the inappropriate behavior. I don't mean inappropriate behavior, but the behavior that you're not looking for them. So
Yeah.
you can. You can practice by having, I taught my older daughter Sophia how to lose a game. Like she used to like melt down and shut down when she lost a game, and so instead of I taught her how to engage. She played the part of the person who did what they were supposed to do. So like, okay, Sophia, let's pretend I'm really upset. I lost a game right now, but we had already gone over the strategies before. So I told her these are things you could say, like good game, maybe next time. And we spoke about why it will benefit her because your friends are going to want to continue playing with you. You're going to get to participate more because she used to just decide she didn't want to play games because she didn't want to risk losing. So we spoke about those benefits, told her what she could say, and then I would pretend, okay, so let's say I just lost a game and I'm really disappointed right now. And I would pretend I'm upset and then tell her and then walk her through what she could say. Yeah.
That's great. She has a trouble losing too, so that's a good one. Good one
Yeah.
for her. We just like don't play competitive games at this point. Like we just
That's where
never
we were
play them,
at.
which
Yep.
maybe just doesn't serve her if she doesn't. Yeah, like she has like a movement class at school where they often play like you get out games, and she hates those. As she gets out, she hates it. So that's
Yeah.
something to learn. Let's talk about, okay, so we talked a lot about feelings, like sort of reacting to their reactions.
Hmm.
I want to talk about getting them to do stuff that we
Sure.
need them to do.
Yeah.
She has a very hard time cleaning up a mess she's made.
Hmm.
Just if she needs help, she wants me to help her, even if it's
Yeah.
like just one wipe.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
need you to help me.
Yeah.
Huge
Like that.
feelings about having to clean up a mess she made. It's
Okay.
fairly similar for picking up her toys or things like that, but it's like for some reason the mess one is like extra, like it's in the moment. Picking up the toys, like maybe we have like a little longer arc for like, oh, if you do it in the next 10 minutes, we'll talk about picking up toys in a minute. But let's talk about this one. Like she's having an emotional reaction to spilling something. It's no big deal. It's easy to clean up.
Yeah.
She won't clean it up, or she won't clean up unless I help her, which is
Yeah.
like me doing half of it basically. How
Yeah.
do I get her to clean up her mess? What do I do there?
Well, a couple of things. So, number one, I think again, I'm going to go back to how we respond and remember. And when we give those big reactions, like it's not a big deal, or it's okay, you could do it, or it's just a spill. Like again, that just brings about all of that attention that our children do like. And so, if you could be as like easier said than done, but a little
Here's a
bit
paper
more,
towel.
yeah, or
And we'll just
just,
walk away.
but not necessarily. What I will say is number one, for anything that you're teaching, start small and remember to have realistic expectations. I would tell to any parent. And so I'm not going to teach my child who doesn't clean up to clean up their whole room from 0 to 100. I might start with one thing or two things and reinforce that and pay attention to that. And I'm going to go back to attention, but because we all know that when our kids don't clean up or they don't do what we want, that gets a ton of attention, myself included. That used to be a big trigger for me. Like, why isn't anybody cleaning up right now? The house is a mess. Come on. But when our kids actually clean up or they do something, does that get the same response? And if so, even if you do acknowledge it, does it get the same intensity that not cleaning up got? Not cleaning
Yeah,
up.
yeah,
Go.
I know this is the case because it's so different for my wife than me.
Oh, okay.
She'll clean up a mess for my wife, like
Yeah,
no problem.
right.
but not me. So I think I have trained her that this is a hot spot, and if
Yeah.
she refuses and begs for my help and gets upset, that I will like stay in and be like,
Yeah.
but you need to clean it up. Why are you
Yeah,
so
yeah,
upset?
yeah.
You don't need my help. You can do it. No, just clean it up. You're not getting anything till you clean this up. You know,
Sure.
like it like creates a thing.
Yeah.
And with my wife, it's just not a thing. She's like, here's a paper towel.
Yeah.
And she just cleans it up. It's like not a thing.
Yeah, and again, like if the function of her not cleaning, there's two things. Does she truly not want to clean, or does she, or has it maybe started that way, but turns into she likes the outcome of the discussion that is had and us getting upset. And so maybe I would just say like, sure, I'll help you clean, and just be really nonchalant in the beginning about it. And then she sees, she might try to do more things to get you to respond, but like it's no big deal. I'll help you clean right now. And when I am teaching a child to clean, I have no problem helping them. Um,
Sure.
the
She's 7.5. She can wipe up a mess. Like she needs help, I will help. If it's a really
Right.
complicated mess or
Yeah.
there's glass or whatever.
Sure.
But when she really doesn't need it, it did seem like there's something symbolic about it. I noticed it's clearly something symbolic about me helping, like, and I didn't know if that's like, okay, I'll help, and that has her feel supported, or if it's like like you think you're helpless, and like you
Yeah.
think you need my help to wipe up a small little spill. Like, I don't want to
Yeah.
reinforce that. You're not
Sure.
helpless.
I would say too, though, that when she does start doing like anything that you want to see more of, a lot of times, even as parents, if we say, oh, I do acknowledge when they clean something, I do acknowledge when she attempts to clean up a spill, I do acknowledge this. Oftentimes, the level of emotion that we give our kids when they're doing the right thing never nearly matches the level of emotion we give when they're not. And so our
Hmm.
kids do learn that when I don't do it, I get an immediate response, a voice is raised, or lots of talking. I get closer to my child. But when they actually do it, or they even move remotely in the right direction, like maybe she even rips the towel off, no one says anything. Or they just say, good job. Good job, Sophia. Like, well, which one's better? The one that
Yeah.
got the bigger reaction. And so the second your child begins to engage in a behavior that's a step in the right direction, that's definitely a moment that we're going to want to notice, because our attention does teach. But also, I would look at, is it that she truly doesn't want to do the task, or has she learned that not cleaning or saying she needs all this help just brings a lot of interaction from you?
Hmm. Yeah, I think I've really forgotten that she, and some part of her, enjoys the negative attention.
Yeah,
Like that we have so many positive interactions. We have such a great
right.
relationship. And so sometimes I'm confused. I'm like, why would she be creating disconnection here? Like, why is she acting in a way that's like just hurting our relationship? Like, I don't get
Yeah,
it. Like it'd be so easy for just clean this and we can get back to the game. We're having a fun game. She spilled the
right,
thing, clean the thing, and we'll get back
right,
to our fun game. Like, why are
right.
you acting like this? And so like, I think it's good for me to remember, oh, well, this is sort of equal. Or
Yeah,
maybe there was an even more energy now that
yeah.
she sort of likes, and I can, if I withdraw that, then it might actually be more effective
Yeah, and
if that's what I
it's
want.
not even withdraw. Like I don't want, because again, this can get so misconstrued. But I don't even mean withdraw. I just mean don't reinforce it, don't engage. But there are so many other pieces that do go into this, because it's not just about attention and not attention. For example, we could look at how are the instructions given. So saying clean up to a child can be very vague, especially if there's a giant mess, and can be fairly daunting. So if
Hmm.
you can make the direction that you're giving that much more clear and specific, not only do kids benefit from that, but adults do as well. So telling her, make it easy to follow directions. Tell her exactly what to do when you're trying to teach a skill. Put the car in the bin, the book goes on the shelf, and pick one thing. Make it clear, make it easy. I don't have to think about this. Oh, that's what I do. And the other thing I'll say too to parents is, a lot of times when we give an instruction and our kid doesn't follow it right then and there, we tend to jump to, oh my God, they're not listening. But there's two things to look at. Number one is from the moment you give your instruction to the moment your child finishes the task, that's one thing. But also the moment you begin your instruction to the moment that your child begins doing it is another thing. And we have to sort of focus more on, I know I get it, as parents, we move fast. I'm from New York. I'm very fast. Like I want things done quickly. But oftentimes when we give the instruction, we're so quick to give it again if our kids aren't finished with it somehow, like, or that if they're not standing in front of us magically, or the task is not complete, that we don't realize that they were actually like beginning to go in that direction. Or if we just gave it a moment, a hot second, we might see that, oh, they actually are starting the task. But we're so
Mhm.
quick to just say,
Yeah.
why isn't it done? You know,
Mhm.
myself
Yeah.
included.
Yeah, she moves at a slower pace than me, and yeah, I think my plan would be, yeah, like, we're playing a game, it gets interrupted, by a spill or there's something that we're doing, and then I just, like, give her the paper towel, just say, "Okay, we can keep playing after that's clean," and, like, just kinda walk away or just be around, but, like, not beg her, "Are
Yeah.
you done yet? Can you clean up? Oh, we're ready to play the game.
Yeah.
As soon as you just all you gotta do is wipe it, just one little wipe."
Yeah.
You know, just be like, "Oh, we'll play it," and if she doesn't do it, I'll just wait and just sort of wait
Yeah.
for her to do it. And then
Yeah.
she can have her feelings. Let her be upset about it. But like, "Oh, we'll play again when you're ready." And like, but only like once or twice, like not over and over. So I'll work on for me, like giving a little less attention, and probably every
Yeah.
parent's a little different. I overindulge. So I think for me, it'll be like, how do I now withdraw some of my attention until the thing has happened
Yeah.
and then give it back when it's done so that, like you're saying, reinforces
But it
the
doesn't have to be
completion.
done. Like, don't wait for it to be done perfectly because we're
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
be
yeah.
missing all the
Attempt. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, that
And
she tries to do it.
exactly, like, "Oh my gosh, I love that. Thank you. I appreciate you taking the towel out yourself." And then the other thing is just also remembering it's never gonna be done to the degree in which we want it to. Our kid, like, my daughter is 6, she's gonna be 7, my toddler's 3. They're not gonna clean up a spill as proficiently as I will.
Nah.
And yeah, and just keeping
No,
that
I've learned that getting them to do stuff isn't usually about them actually doing it well. It's about them learning to do it.
yes.
I'd be
Yeah.
so much faster for me to pick up her toys.
Yes,
It'd take
exactly.
her a year, but like I'm doing it because she needs to learn to pick up her toys.
Right, right.
And it's a very easy trap to fill in. And we've fallen in that trap a lot. It's why one of the reasons I think she's not very good at picking up her toys, because we have fallen in that trap of like, oh, it's just easier
100%.
So when it comes to things like picking up toys, there's probably not a hard deadline that has to be done by. It's not like getting in the car 'cause we need to go to school, though that is another situation. And we don't punish, so we're not threatening.
Yeah,
And I have a whole episode on why punishment isn't great in terms of
yeah,
intrinsic motivation and damaging the relationship.
sure.
Similar with bribery,
Yep,
because then the bribe just has to get bigger and bigger. And again, they don't learn to do it intrinsically; they do it for the reward. So without punishment or reward, we use natural consequences, which I talk about on that episode.
mhm.
If there is one, there's a natural consequence. If we don't get in the car, we're going to be late to the party. If you don't want to
Yeah,
go to the party, okay, then
yep,
we're not going to the party unless you get in the car.
yes.
But it works up until when there is no consequence they care about.
Yeah,
Well, the toys are on the floor, then it's a mess, and mommy doesn't like it. Well, I don't care if mommy doesn't or whatever it is. Like, and
yeah,
then unless I'm going to take the toy away and say, like, any toys left on the floor, going to
yeah,
give them to
sure.
Goodwill, right? Which feels like a little extreme.
Yeah.
Like, how do we motivate her to do things like pick up toys without punishment?
We're just not gonna move on until it's done, simply. I mean, that's it. But again, I'm always gonna go back to proactive strategies because it doesn't have to get to the point of like, Sophia, clean up. I'm not going to ever just give that vague instruction to a 6-year-old who does not have the same organizational skills as I do. I'm starting small with her and I'm just saying, hey, Sophia, put the car in the bin. That's it. I'm dousing that with attention and I will clean up the rest. Over time, I'm going to slowly start asking her to do more. If she's not doing it, I have this moment with um, I have a video with my toddler where she needed to clean up magnet tiles. She said no, but number one, we didn't move on till she did it. But two, I made it easy for her to do. So she got to see what it felt like to be successful doing it. So for example, the bin of magnet tiles was across the room. I brought it a little bit closer to her. I handed her a tile because again, it's about the principle. I don't care if you pick it up right now and walk across the room, but you're going to put the tile in the bin and I will help you do it. And
Mm.
so we did it. And then that moment was like, Gracie, wow, you put the tile in the bin. Amazing. And then we did a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm actually remembering my daughter had this idea. We problem solve a lot of stuff together. And we had the problem of like the toys downstairs. She has an upstairs play area that we're okay being left somewhat messy. But like downstairs in the living room, like
Sure.
we'd, kind of at the end of every day, we want that picked up so that's not, it just doesn't, the downstairs doesn't become covered. And way I asked her, like, what do we, you don't seem to want to do it before bedtime isn't
Sure.
a
Yep.
motivation. Like, I'm just gonna,
Totally.
oh, great, I don't have to go to bed if I don't pick up
Yeah.
my toys. Great.
Right.
So, before bed isn't useful at all. Like, oh, great, I'll just now go to bed. And she's like, but if there was something else, she's like, if there's something else I really wanted that it had to be done before, then I'd do it real fast.
Yeah.
She's like, so we had this game, Throw You on the Bed, where I throw her on the,
Yeah.
favorite games,
Yeah.
rough play before bed, really great way to tuck her out. And so she had that idea. She's like, what if like you tell me like after the toys are picked up, we can play Throw You on the
Yeah.
Bed? Or
Yeah.
like before throwing you in the bed, we pick up the toys. Or if I say I want to play Throw You in the Bed, you say,
Yeah.
pick up your toys first and then we'll play.
Yeah.
And that was her idea. And it's
I-
very similar to what you're saying. Like, it's not a reward. Throwing you on the bed isn't a reward for picking up your toys. It's just sequential.
Yeah, yeah. I remember one time I came home a couple months ago and my house was a mess. And the first thing I wanted to do was say, like, what happened? A bomb went off. But I knew that wouldn't be good for anybody. And so I was like, when can I use this to my advantage? So we ate dinner. The living room was messy. And then I said, right before dessert, I said, all right, guys, clean up and then we're going to have our dessert. There's all humans work under conditions of motivation. All of us, we do things in certain orders because we like the outcome. It's not any different for our kids. And so we can definitely use that to our advantage, and it's not a forever thing. A lot of times people think like, "Oh, I'm going to have to do that forever." But your child gets used to, number one, it's easier for them to follow the direction. Everybody's happier. They see what it feels like to receive the effects of reinforcement and the connection you give them for that during those moments. Now, when I do need to throw down a hard no, or like you simply just need to clean, it's not as it's okay because it's been correlated with so many positive experiences now.
Great. And so then so going back to motivating parents, if we're on the more like avoiding feelings, send them away, yell at them, which is a little bit more my wife's orientation. How does she, or how do parents like that motivate themselves to be a little more empathetic, or hold space a little better without getting triggered?
Would say I always try to look at the long game. So the outcome of this. And I know it's very hard to see in that moment because for us there's the immediate reinforcement of our children stop, the crying stops, they go away, and there's the delayed gratification that we get of them learning how to use a different skill or that, if we're not attending to it right now, maybe they're going to keep crying for a little bit, but over time it will slowly stop. There's a lot of research on it. This is called extinction, is when we no longer reinforce challenging behavior. It takes time, but the outcome is significantly better because, again, I try to think of that long term payoff. And the other thing I think about too is when we do that, often our kids, again, they learn how to behave a specific way. Let's say we're just sending them off because we don't want them to do something in the presence of that person, or they only behave that way if they're scared of that person. But it's not going to stop them from behaving that way around other people. Reinforcement is what teaches, and that's what will teach them to behave a certain way around other people. So it's not a permanent solution.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the formula Big Little Feelings created really helped my wife. It was like, I just don't know what to do.
Yeah.
She's just like, I don't know anything. I'm getting triggered. They're triggered, and I'm just sort of frozen. So I just leave or send
Yeah.
her away because I can't. I don't want to yell at her, but I don't have anything else to do. So I think there was that. And I actually, when you look at that video, she is actually following that step process of like, oh, I
Yeah.
hear you're sad.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pick you up. You can have this.
Yeah.
But it's okay to be sad. Like,
Yeah.
she sort of just does that. And then, and she doesn't say it over and over, and she goes
Yes.
back to eating her dinner.
Yes.
And then eventually she comes back, and you
Yeah.
don't see the result of that. But,
Yeah.
but people were really worried that she's basically learning that it's okay to like throw fits in public.
Mm.
And what is your response to that idea that she's going to grow up just sort of having emotional fits all over the place all the time?
Well, like if the fit is not reinforced, which it wasn't by your wife, if we don't give it the attention, and again, attention can be positive or negative. All attention will increase behavior. So if when parents come to me, they'll often say like, I've tried this, I've tried this, I've tried time out, I've tried this, and then, or if someone's like, but I need to discipline them, and I need to tell them that's not okay, I need to punish them. what I'll always say is, how's that working for you? Like, if it works, then you only have to do it, then you should only have to do it a couple of times. And then that's it, if done effectively. I'm not against discipline. I'm not against certain things, but it shouldn't be the tool that is control how we control our children's behavior. That's again, that's not a long-term solution. And so I will say, like, again, if your child is learning a more effective replacement behavior or a boundary, if you're not reinforcing it, the answer was no, and it wasn't reinforced. She didn't get much attention out of it. She didn't get the hug. She will slowly learn over time. When I cry, the outcome does not change. And so our kids are going to stop doing that because they see that. A good analogy for that is, think about, I'm going to give an analogy to everybody. Think about a vending machine. And so every day you go to the vending machine, you put $1 in, a soda comes out. You put $1 in, a soda comes out. So your behavior has been reinforced, right? You get your soda. Let's say one day you go to the machine and you put your dollar in and a soda doesn't come out. You're probably going to try to go back to the machine the next day because you're like, I always get a soda. Why isn't it working? And so maybe you start like banging on it a little bit. You kick it. You come back the next day. You're like, this is the machine that always works. Come on. So you bang it. Maybe you even stick your hand up it. Doesn't work. Over time, you're going to stop coming to that machine because you're like, this just doesn't work anymore. It's not, it's broken. However, when we're not consistent, though, what I will say is, when you sometimes accidentally reinforce challenging behavior, I know nobody's perfect, but I'm just trying to give, myself included, I'm just trying to give strategies. Let's say you did go back to that machine one day and you got a soda after it hadn't been working. That's just enough oftentimes to keep the behavior of going. But it worked. It worked the other day. I'm going to keep trying.
Or if
And
one time I got 5 sodas,
there you go.
I'm probably going to
Yeah.
that machine every day.
Yeah.
What if I get 5 this time? Even
Yeah.
though it probably never happens again.
Yeah.
Yeah, the psychology is like, if I might get it.
Yeah. But so
Yeah.
over time, if done consistently and correctly, which it appears like what your wife did in the video, that over time your daughter will learn mom's decision doesn't change when I throw myself on the floor. And so now when she is out in public and she does say no, what's the point of even having that? I'm not going to have the meltdown because I know nothing happens. There's no big emotional
Yeah.
reaction and the outcome doesn't change.
Mhm. And she doesn't, and that is the case. Like, she doesn't, have huge fits in public, but occasionally it's in public. And I did want to address in public because it's so different for a parent, when you're in their home and you can just let them scream and cry all you want, you go
Yeah.
about your business. But versus a store, we were in a convenience store just the other day and she wanted this nasty ice cream thing that was
Yeah.
just never going to happen. Ice cream
Yeah.
sandwich is like everything wrong
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
food.
Yeah.
Like, not food, like, I
Yeah.
trust
Yeah.
it's not actually edible in my opinion. And she just had this fit on the floor, and like I had another thing I could offer her, like you could have this other like kind of more natural popsicle. I'd even offered her half of the sandwich because I was like, oh, we can maybe just basically a couple bites of it wouldn't kill you, but not this whole thing, not
Yeah.
this 30 gram of sugar thing. And it was, no, I just want the whole thing. Nothing. I fit on the floor. And I just like, it was like, you're really upset. I like got down with her. I hear this is really hard for you. I
Yeah.
get it. It's something you want. I get it, and it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And like, and then eventually I walked away and like went to find something else or looked around the store and was looking for something for me. And she's over there crying. And finally I come back and I'm like, okay, it's time to go. Like, it's either now or nothing. Like, if you can get one of the other choices or we can get nothing. I'm
Yeah.
about to go check out. I'm going to the checkout right now. And then she's like, no, I said I'll take half. I'll
Yeah.
take
Yeah.
half.
Yeah.
She finally agreed to half. And in the line, she's like, I want to pick the half. I want to cut it in half and pick the half. I'm like, you can either cut it or you can pick. Like, I'm going to
Yeah.
cut it and then you pick
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
half. Or if you cut it, I'm going to pick the half because you're going to, it's not going to be half. And we had this debate in the line. And then by the time I got up there, the clerk was like acknowledged my quiet, what did she say? You had a very quiet firmness, basically. It was like soft but
Yeah. Yeah.
firm.
Sure.
And I was like, oh, thanks. I guess I did. I was
Yeah.
very embarrassed by it. I was
Sure.
like, my daughter's crying over an ice cream sandwich. But like, apparently, like, this clerk who's probably seen a million screaming kids,
For sure. Yeah.
like, praised that. So like, what do you think of that overall response? Too much, too little? Any difference in public?
So, I mean, in regards to differences in public, what I will say to parents is, I would not change the way you parent in public because number one, you're never probably going to see those people again, or maybe you will. Number two, if they have kids, they have 100% dealt with this themselves. Every single parent has. And number three, they're not the ones that have to take your kids home later and deal with the wrath of you doing what you don't typically do because you just wanted the crying to stop. You have to deal
Yeah.
with it now. So those are a couple things I try to tell people to remember in that moment. And the other thing is I mean, a couple of things. Of course, you could not have predicted that this would have happened. Like you didn't know this was going to happen, but I'll like proactively, let's say we know this is let's say we did know this was going to happen. Maybe before like the carnival example I gave you before with my toddler and the
Yeah.
carousel. Now I know the next time we went to a carnival, there were many proactive things I did beforehand to like teach her that like when the ride is over, it's over and we're leaving. But sometimes we don't know that. So, I mean, when saying no, I will almost when teaching the skill, it's you can't have this, but you can have this. And if they still cry, I don't continue offering things because that's what keeps them learning. When I cry, I'm offered more good things. My parents continue to try to fix it for me and it just doesn't end and the loop continues. And so they're just waiting for that better thing that's going to happen. Maybe I
Mm.
get the half. And so maybe it's so you can't have this, you can't have the ice cream sandwich, but you could have the popsicle. I don't want the popsicle. Okay, no problem. And she might be upset, but then that's it. I'd also say I'm always ready to like I'd be ready to leave. So not for you. I'm just saying like if something got to a certain point where I couldn't continue, I will if I have to leave, I'm gonna say, like, "I'm just letting you know if this doesn't stop, we're gonna have to leave," and I would be 100% ready to go. So, I'd be there as well.
Yeah. Setting expectations is big. I mean, before going to the next gas station, we could say, "Hey, remember last time? We're gonna get a treat, there's a lot of stuff in there that I'm not gonna let you have.
Yeah,
So, just warning you that like we can pick something out, but like there's probably most of the stuff there you can't have, or I might want you to eat less of it. So, can you handle that, or
yeah, yeah,
you just stay in the car? Like, do you want me to just pick something and bring it? Like, what would you like?
yeah.
You know?
I would even a couple of things. Number 1, make it even more nonchalant because a lot of times as parents, we have this, like, doomsday voice. My brother
Yeah.
uses it. If he listens to it's like, "You can't have this, but you can have that." And so it, like, signals to our kid that, like, something urgent and a big emotional reaction should be had, where when we're more like, "Hey, we're gonna go to the gas station. The ice cream sandwich isn't available, but if you'd like, you could have this." I've also there's a lot of things in this situation to think about, but I also make sure anytime your daughter or whoever is listening to this is flexible and they do accept no or they do handle the alternative option, we specifically say, like, I appreciate you being flexible, or those are the
Mm,
things we notice because we always
mm,
notice when they're not, but we never notice when they are. And then
yeah.
I've also taught, again, from an early age, I taught my toddler, like, there's other behaviors I could teach her to do. Of course, she could be sad, but I've taught her to say, like, when something fun is ending, like, when we say, "The TV's all done," you could say, "No problem," or whatever, and then she says it, and that's the behavior I reinforce. So I could teach her other things that she can do.
Yeah. I think one thing I really appreciate about your approach and a lot of these approaches is that it's like science.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not like, "This is what my mom did. This is what I did, and I turned out
Right.
okay."
Right.
People have done this for centuries,
Yes.
which was a lot of the fighting on my channel about this post was like, all these predictions. If you do this
Yes.
way, this is going to happen. That's going to happen. And I had to
Yeah.
be like, no, literally what she's doing is scientifically proven to
Yes.
not have any of those things happen. In fact, what you're saying to do is scientifically
Yes.
proven not to work. Like
Yes.
they've studied this.
Totally.
So can you speak a little bit about the kind of science? I mean, you don't need to cite published journals or whatever, but a little bit about like the approach, how they've proven all this stuff has worked, how they essentially proved that punishment is not effective in the long run, how they've proved that models like you teach are better.
Yeah. I mean, first, what I will say is behavior analysis is an evidence-based science. It's acknowledged by the Surgeon General. There's many, many studies on them that have been replicated and done over many populations, many subjects over time. So, like, that's the first thing. I know I can't convince, that doesn't always convince people, though. But at the end of the day, people engage in behaviors that produce good outcomes, and they do not engage in behaviors that don't. And so reinforcement and punishment are not, I'm not talking about it in terms of what people typically think is punishment, but reinforcement increasing behavior and punishment decreasing behavior. saying that that's not a thing is like saying gravity does not exist. It is, it is a thing. It's a science.
Fundamental
Yes.
principle. Yes.
And the other thing I'll say too about punishment is punishment, the definition of punishment, again, is decreasing a behavior. So if you're consistent over time, like permanently, so if you have to use punishment every day, then punishment is not being utilized in the manner in which you think it is. It is actually being reinforced if the behavior is continuing to happen. If you're truly punishing a behavior, you will only need to do it a couple of times and then that will be it. But parents often think they're punishing behavior, right? Because it stops.
So the definition of punishment is actually that a behavior decreases.
Yes, yes.
It's not a pain that I cause on someone for doing something I don't like.
No, yeah.
Because if it doesn't work,
exactly.
what's the point?
So like for example, if let's say you hated M&Ms, like you despise them and the smell of them. And every time, and I gave you an M&M for something and it made a behavior of yours decreased, technically that's punishment. I know people don't call it that. I know nobody says that. And so I usually try to speak the same lingo as people because I know I'm going to lose people if I say the formal definition of punishment is actually when a behavior decreases. But so I understand what parents are saying. But I'm talking about your typical punishment.
But that is what they're wanting. That is what they are. But it's weird. My parents got so into punishment. Like I remember in high school, we would agree on what the punishment was going to be before I did a thing.
Yeah.
And then knowing full well I was going to do it. And then I would do it, and then they would execute the punishment, and they felt like good parents.
Yeah.
And it made no sense to me as a teenager. Like, are you really?
Yeah.
Like they had some idea that it was like, to be a good parent, they had to dole out a punishment, even if it had nothing to do with whether it changed my behavior.
Well, one thing that I will say about parents, because again, I'm not saying all punishment, and again, I'm going to go back to my formal definition is wrong. The way it sounds like the way that your parents did isn't something I would recommend, but what I do recommend doing for sure though, and again, this could be considered punishment though, is letting your child know the expectations and consequences ahead of time. If this happens, then this is what's going to happen. And that's simply, it does a few things. It stops us from reacting emotionally in the moment and giving a punishment that we can't follow through on, or that is too, because it's too extreme, and then we get upset. I do like to look at, like I said before, natural consequences. So like when my younger daughter was 4 and she would leave her scissors out, scissors were very valuable to her. So whatever punishment or you're taking away, it has to be valuable enough that it will actually do something. So I said, Sophia, I know you really like to use your scissors and you like to cut, but Grace, I spoke about how Grace is a baby. If we spoke about what to do with your scissors, but also when we practice, if you continue to leave your scissors out, then you are going to lose them for a certain amount of days. And she did end up losing them for a few days, but it was effective enough in that, number one, like it wasn't just one day, it was 3 days. So 3 days for her with no scissor I know that sounds really weird. She likes cutting, but
she's a crafter.
Yeah,
apparently. Yeah,
it was valuable.
Take
to
away
her.
my glue gun, I'm gonna be mad.
I'm not
Yeah.
emotional about it either. Like I know she knows I've taught her the expectations. I've done it proactively. We've practiced it. So would that be fair if I didn't do all of that? I would say no. But I know that I did all of those things and that I've taught her that skill. And then I've also reinforced her and paid attention to her when she does put them away. Because it can't.
But the fact is it worked.
Yes.
Now she doesn't leave her scissors out. But so I guess the difference is if then right after that, she went and just let the scissors out again. And then you're like, okay, 3 days.
Yeah, then it's
and
not
then you're
effective.
just in this cycle all the time.
Right.
Well, I said 3 days, so I'm holding through. So I'm a good parent. But
Right.
like, it's not, she's never changing the behavior. It's like you got to
Correct.
change that up. Like
Yes.
clearly it's not effective.
It's not effective. No.
Yeah.
Yep.
And just you doling out a punishment doesn't make you a good parent.
No.
Or not doing a punishment doesn't mean you're not a good parent. Like really
Right.
it's about, are they learning anything?
Right. Yeah.
And all I learned was that like I could survive a punishment if there's something I really wanted, I was going to get it. And
Yeah.
I could handle a punishment. I
Right.
would take it knowing that I had freedom. It was like a freedom thing for me at that point.
Yeah. And
It's like I had the freedom to do the thing and take the punishment and like I'm
You
in
got both.
control.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like,
Yes.
and now I know I can take anything and nothing you can do to stop
Right.
me now.
Right. And that's what you said before. And I'll say this as well. Like the more we often have to just keep upping the ante when that's all that we use, and then our kids will eventually get to the point where, like, "You could punish me, you could take everything away, I don't
Numb,
care."
numb, numb. I'm just
Yeah,
more and more numb. Yeah. And then, like, what does that teach them?
right,
Like, I can survive pain and I can take on stuff. Yeah. Which
totally.
is, not a great message. So
No.
awesome. Yeah. Well, love this science. Love this conversation. Where can people, what are other, I mean, there's your channel, obviously. What are other great resources for parents
Sure.
for
Well,
this?
so yes, there's my channel, ABA Naturally. I do have a parenting course where I break this down in such great detail, um, how to implement the principles of behavior in your home, but so it's a way that parents can actually understand and is doable, so that they can, again, like we said before, teach their kids to follow directions, but also maintaining connection and feeling confident about doing so. And so the first half of it goes over all of the proactive strategies that we spoke, a lot of them that we spoke about today, because that is such a big piece of this. I teach parents how to look at why behavior is happening so they can know what they need to teach instead. And also, if something does happen, we go over all those common triggers: being told no, interrupting from something fun, refusing to do as told, whining for everything, sibling rivalry. So I have a resource that I created because I did feel that there was this need in which all of the information out there is for behavior analysts. Like, there's textbooks that I have. You might have to go to school for it, but when I became a parent, I felt, don't get me wrong, it's the hardest job in the world, for sure, harder than any job that I've ever had. Being a teacher, working with some of the most toughest students that I've had, that in a residential setting. This is harder, but what I will say is I did feel like I had a leg up in that I had all these skills, and so what I've
Hmm.
done is I've tried to give them out and give them in a way that any parent can use it. So,
Yeah, that's great. So you have a course. That's cool. That's like an online course they can
yes,
download or view. Okay, cool. We'll put a
yes,
link to that in the show notes.
yeah,
Other cool books or
yeah.
podcasts or people you follow?
I do like the book, Parenting the Strong-Willed Child. I like that book a lot. There's a book I like, but it's a textbook. It's called Behavior Analysis for Lasting Behavior Change. I find it, I mean, it's very expensive and it's a textbook, but I do like the way it was written. Um,
Cool.
I
If
like
somebody's into the science, they want to
Yeah,
go deeper.
I like
That's like
Dr.
the
Dr.
seminal.
Siggy's account. I like her a lot. But yeah, I did feel like this is an area in which there is so little information about, and parents are at a time now where they're being inundated with information about gentle parenting, punishment. Also, though, maybe parents they're getting information about what to do, but then no one tells them how to do it. Like, okay, so I'm supposed to stay calm, but what happens if they keep doing this? And so I've tried to set out to answer every little nuance that a parent might have when they're like, but then what? But then what? But then what? And so, like, I really try to break down everything that could possibly happen for them.
Great. Awesome. Well, great. Well, super great to have you.
Just
Everyone, if you liked this episode, I have one on why we don't punish, talking about punishment. I have another one on why our kids drive us crazy and how we can use our attention to reinforce better behaviors. And I have one on toddler tantrums on this 5-step approach. I go in more detail on how you deal with toddlers and tantrums in the moment and also how you prevent them. So check those out, and please subscribe to the YouTube channel or wherever you get podcasts. That actually really helps me reach more dads, and would love if you want to drop in the comments challenging behavior your child has been demonstrating probably in the last hour or day, and definitely share with other parents in your life. Thanks so much, Jenna, for coming on, and stay dedicated.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.